saying, brother. The numbers don't lie.
Cream, rise to the top. Oh,
yeah. And welcome to the pod. It's a pleasure to have you a part of this podcast, new from 2024. I am Hank Ambrose, and I have a very special guest joining me today, Jay Thomas. Jay, thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Jay, you have experience in the podcast world. I listen to you as soon as you drop out the new movie review, and you have inspired me to kind of do my own form of review and fantasy booking.
Thanks. I just recorded my new one that was supposed to be out last weekend, but I just didn't do it. Be better than me, Hank. Be better than me.
Hey, if you could, give us the details on that. Where can we listen? What's the title? So on and so forth.
It's called the Rewatch Podcast, and you can find it pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. However, I did realize that it was not the most original name, and I thought that I looked it up enough, but there are other Rewatch podcasts. So the best way to get it, and it'll give you the link to wherever you can listen to it, go to yourfortdodge.com, and there is a link for the Rewatch Podcast right there on the front page. You don't have to scroll or anything. I think it's right there. And if it's not, I'll put it there because I'm in charge of that. So, click on there. I talk about old movies, new movies, movies you movies you may not have even heard of. And the latest episode, which I don't know when this is coming out, but I'm going to hopefully have the podcast out tomorrow night or even tonight as we're recording it. I'm going through every new released movie that I watched this past year in 2023.
That is awesome. That'll be super exciting.
It's I watched a lot. I liked a lot, and I loved a few, and I'm excited to finally talk about them, because there's movies that I really would have liked to do a whole podcast on, but things have been very busy outside of the podcast for me in the last month or two, and so I haven't really been able to do as many as I would have liked, but I'm going to do a little overview of pretty much all of them that I've seen, so you'll have to check it out. It's at yourfortdodge.com.
And for the listeners of the show, and if you're wondering who are these people, well, we are both DJs ourselves, and we met in Central Iowa right after I graduated from the local community college there. Jay more or less took me under his wing and has taught me a lot throughout my young career. And not just that, but you and a few other of my good friends have really brought me back into the world of pro wrestling, which I'm so grateful for.
I've loved it since I was 8 years old.
And you know what? I have too, but for some reason, there was basically a decade where I wasn't involved in it at all. And when I've gone back now to rewatch everything I missed, I found that, wow, there's a lot of great stuff I've missed and a lot of stuff that is kind of poor that I've missed.
Yeah, it's funny. Everybody just gushes about the Attitude Era of WWE, WWF at the time. And it was great. There are some absolutely amazing moments. But there's a lot of garbage in there as well. I mean, I would say the highs are much higher than the lows. But, I mean, there was times I'd watch Raw, and I was in high school at the time. And I would just be like, oh, God, I get why I don't want to talk to people about this very often. But then there's other stuff that was just amazing. You had Stone Cold, you had The Rock, you had Undertaker, Mankind, Triple H, all these guys. Shawn Michaels was kind of out at that moment. But you had all these guys that were all there at the exact same time and doing these amazing things. And you had the birth of Edge and Christian, and ECW was kind of coming to a close, but then things were moving over there. You had WCW doing their thing with the NWO, and which I never really liked. I was kind of on the outside there. I was never, thought the NWO was stupid, but I appreciate what they did. But I watched it, early 90s through now. I mean, I never really did stop. And it's been fun talking to you about it, because you've been watching a lot of the stuff that I did when I was really, really into it. And it's fun to hear watch it for the first time and actually enjoy it.
That is true. That's the other thing is we did grow up in very different generations, I would say. And I'm not calling you old. Please don't think that. But you grew up more or less, or at least were on the... Well, did you grow up with the Attitude Era, or were you just out of that?
I was born in 82, so the Attitude Era really started when I was 15, 16. So the best possible time for my age for the Attitude Era to begin. I mean, I was the exact demo that they were going for. Yeah, it was. I mean, when I started watching it, it was the early 90s, and it was 91, 92, and it was WWF and it was WCW, and it was not their best time for either one of them. But I love it. I mean, they've always said for just about anything, you like this thing more when you're younger than you do when you're older, and you always think it's better, whether it is or not. I mean, I've gone back and watched old pay-per-views, and I was like, geez, these are garbage, but I loved them at that. I mean, I believed it was real at that point still. So yeah, I mean, I mean, God, when you were born in what, 2001?
2002, January, but yeah.
Oh God, I am 20 years older than you.
Yeah. So I was basically born right when the Attitude Era was going away.
Yeah. You were about to be. You probably got into it when it was the PG era, I would assume. Ruthless Aggression, PC or PG era.
Yes, that is true.
No competition.
Yeah, true. All of that is true. But a lot of the reason I got into pro wrestling was I was passed down old VHS tapes as well as DVDs from my dad and just from garage sales and older cousins. And I've always been one to watch. I was that kid that definitely sat on the couch all day and watched whatever.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And what I was really most familiar with, I would say, would be the Attitude Era growing up. And then I watched all the way up until Ryback, basically, was, quote unquote, a huge up-and-coming Goldberg-esque star. And
I always said if Goldberg and WCW's The Renegade got really drunk on a steamy, stormy night and had a baby, it would be Ryback, and that baby fell on its head.
Yeah. So I was around that era, and I was also around the Summer of Punk, which was very...
Oh, that was great.
I did also just miss out on the Shield, which is really unfortunate. Because that's Seth is this, Seth Rollins is really what I love the most in today's day and age of wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, you missed out on, let me just get this straight here. You missed out on the Shield, the real Wyatt family, Sting in the WWE, which wasn't great, but it was still pretty awesome to see. And like the golden era of NXT, which is some of the best wrestling I have ever seen.
Yes.
Good job, dummy.
Yeah, I know. It was really, really dumb of me to stop at that time. And I don't think there was a real reason I stopped at that time either. Like, I was still a fan. It just, I don't know why. I really don't.
People just grow out of it for a little bit. Like, I know people that have done that multiple times and have come back. And I was just one of those that never did. My parents wanted me to because they hated when I'd watch it. And I watched it all the time. I would watch whatever I could get my hands on. I mean, I was really that fan for a long time, and I still follow everything, but I don't really watch it week to week as much as I used to.
Yeah, which how I am right now is I'm really addicted to it, and I feel like that I couldn't have came back at a better time because this is a real Renaissance era.
There is a real big thing going on right now.
There is. And as I was explaining to you, what we'll be doing today is some fantasy booking.
Okay.
I do this thing with sports as well as with movies and TV shows I watch just on my own accord. I don't necessarily publish all of these things, but sometimes I do if I think they're interesting or not.
Hey, it could be content for you later on.
It could be. Yeah. Well,
it is. I mean, we're doing it right now.
We literally are. And yeah, so basically I've came to this place where almost a month ago now where I started fantasy booking, if you will, my own pro wrestling stuff. And I figured, you know what? I'm already doing all the work. Why don't I just have a platform and push it out,
Yeah, do it for a reason.
Which I also didn't want it to be, it's just some random guy's voice talking about it. I figured it'd be more fun having a friend listen to what I've said,
Yeah, I want to hear your crazy ramblings of what you want WrestleMania to be.
Yes, so that is exactly what we're going to do. I know WrestleMania is 4 months away still, but I figured it'd be so much more fun to book the road to WrestleMania than rather than being a week out or even a month out and already basically knowing the matchups and then being like, okay, this is who I want to win, so on and so forth. So,
no, I think that's a good idea, especially right now. That a lot changed as of Monday night, so
yes,
it'll be interesting to see.
So just for reference, this is being recorded on the Wednesday right after The Rock returned on Raw and talked about going, or rather sitting at the head of the table.
Yes, made his intentions known ambiguously. I mean, he didn't like straight out say it, but if he's there and he's saying something like that, I assume they finally came up with something. Because they wanted to do it for a really long time, from everything I've read. And Rock even said that on Pat McAfee's show like a couple months ago.
Yes.
That, it just wasn't right. They just hadn't found the right thing that would be big enough, important, something different. And I'm assuming this means they've done that. So I'm interested to see what happens.
Well, with the information we know now, how about we see how Hank booked WrestleMania 40?
I'm excited. I can't wait to hear this.
So
now, are you booking a 2-night show or a 1-night show?
Yes, I am booking a 2-night show.
Okay.
And I do have 7 matches per night.
Oh my gosh. And if you were in AEW, you would do that all in one night and people would be up for hours on it.
That's good.
And I would fall asleep twice.
Good point. That's a good point. I also went into detail on the majority of the matches. Not too much. I'm not going move by move.
Okay.
But I am going, the sandwich of it, I'd say.
All right, cool.
But yeah, so how about we go ahead and just start? By the way, throughout me doing my fantasy booking, I will be going a little bit back in time to describing how they got to this point and a little bit into the future. So yeah, maybe I'll find a better format for future episodes and future fantasy bookings.
All right, I'm ready. By the way, and I've done a lot of nerdy stuff in my life. This might be the nerdiest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That's okay.
I'm excited. I want to hear this out.
I'm a nerd, so
I want to hear what you've come up with.
Again, this is not what I necessarily think is going to happen, but this is my opinion, my fantasy booking.
This is what you would want to see.
Yes.
Okay.
Night 1, show open. IC title feud. He deserves it. Gunther, as the Intercontinental Champion, takes on Brock Lesnar for the big ship to see if the Beast can dethrone the guy from out east. And Brock actually wins in the opening match against Gunther.
Oh, people would be so pissed about that.
Yes, but it teases the next huge feud for Bash at Berlin in August, where Gunther will be put over and officially be the new final boss in all of wrestling.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And by the way, you can interrupt me at any point.
I like that. I mean, I don't like it. I like the matchup. I think that WrestleMania would be burned to the ground if they made Lesnar take another streak away.
By the way, this is a quick...
Specifically at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, true.
But I like it. I see you've got plans past WrestleMania, so that's intriguing.
Yes. And here's the other thing. In my opinion, this match needs to be a somewhat of a quick match, like a 5-minute match, much like Brock versus Seth at WrestleMania 35, I believe it was, for the red Universal strap.
Yeah, I think so.
Where that only clocked in at around like 5 minutes. And the reason for that is because these are big men slapping meat, and that's everything the match needs to be. I mean, it doesn't need to be technical at all. I want to see big spots. I want to see these guys take each other's heads off.
So you want Lesnar to squash him, basically, then? Everything
man.
we put into Gunther, and then he's just squashed to Lesnar?
I don't know. I don't think squash is the word.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it is the word. It's
squash-ish.
It's squash-ish. Yeah, it's a diet squash, if you will.
Gotcha. It's not. We're not. He's going to get some offense in there, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not going to be total slaughter.
Now,
it's just going to be a quick, high-impact match.
Now, here's another thing that I want to mention as well. I wouldn't mind if this was a somewhat of a squash, because I think it would be pretty good for Gunther to take some time off, because he's really been, next to Seth and Jay and Sammy, he has been the workhorse of WWE for the past 2-3 years for the main roster. And someone who has been shying away from the camera, and I want to see get back into the scene on the camera, which, again, Bash at Berlin is not until late August, so you'd have another 4 months to book some things and run some rivalries. Following this squash, if you will, I'd like to see Gunther finally get that Intercontinental title and get it over Brock. So that...
Oh, so you'd have them have a rematch then?
Well, no, I would not. I'm not necessarily for an Intercontinental title for Bash at Berlin. And,
okay.
And the reason I say that, because I want Gunther to get to the top as soon as possible. He is a star. He is heat. The crowd loves him. We had another friend that describes him perfectly, who is going to be on the episode today, but he's sick. And he says if he were to make a prototypical pro wrestler that's a villain, it would be exactly Gunther. And
he's a throwback for sure. I mean, he is.
Yeah,
he looks like every old black and white wrestler you've ever seen, and
I love it.
I do too.
So I don't necessarily want him to have a rematch and get the IC title back. I mean, years down the line, sure, but seriously, I want to elevate him. I think he's world champion.
Yeah, and I like when he gets it, he holds on to it. Like it makes it important.
Certainly. So anyway, those are my thoughts. And a big reason I want Sheamus to end up getting that IC title is he would become just the 23rd, not Triple Crown champion ever, but the 20. Wait, would that be correct? Yes. In the modern era, the 23rd Triple Crown champion ever. And he would be in a very exclusive list as well of...
Oh, so now Sheamus is involved?
Yes. Yeah, I said...
Oh, I think earlier when you said Bash at Berlin, I think you said Gunther again. So I thought I was confused.
No, I think I am confusing you. I'd love to see Gunther get his rematch against Brock at Bash at Berlin.
Okay.
But take Sheamus out of the picture really after that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So it's a short feud that has time in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that could work.
Yeah, anyway. So that is my main take for the show opener.
A good IC title match is a great way to start the show. They've done it a lot of times.
Yes. Match number 2 is a number 1 contenders tag team match and an 8-man tag for the men's division, including Alpha Academy, Theory Effect. They don't necessarily have a name right now, but I've seen the name of Street Business roll around online, which rough. Is Ford and Dawkins. So we're just going to roll with that for now, as well as DIY. I think these are all tag guys that deserve to be in the spotlight at WrestleMania, and I wanted to.
DIY is missing something that they had in NXT. I don't know what it is, but they haven't quite had that same spark that they did then.
And maybe it'll come by WrestleMania. They are.
I hope so.
However, with that said, I do have Street Business, if you will, winning this matchup via interference from Carmelo Hayes.
Are they? You're talking about the Profits, right?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't aware. I see. I'm not watching it week to week, so I didn't know they were not the Street Profits anymore. Yeah, did they win a tag thing last year too? Or am I thinking of a different show?
At WrestleMania?
Yeah. Were they in a tag match last year?
Let's see. I don't recall a tag. They were involved in a tag match, but I believe it was actually Ricochet and Braun Strowman that won it.
Whenever they're in a multi-tag match or even a tag match in general, they're great. So I'm good with that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of a quick one there. Match number 3 is a 3v3 women's match, And this is Damage Control without Bailey and Dakota Kai, who were recently kicked out of the group, quote unquote, having Mia Yim join them. And I will go into more of why Mia Yim later on. And I'm going to have Damage Control win because Damage Control I really, really like.
Well, who are they wrestling?
So they are wrestling the combination of Bailey, Dakota Kai, and Mia Yim.
Oh, Damage Control versus... Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
And with this, I would say that Damage Control does get the victory over the other three because they really need a solid victory because I do think this is a great stable and could be literally the first dominant women's stable in WWE. But they have not been put over yet. They continue to lose to like these throwback teams.
It's been weird booking for them, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of like Becky and then Lita and Trish, and then losing at Survivor Series War Games, which I just think it was a given that they should have won that. I really think they need a huge victory. If they're going to keep this stable and or faction going alive.
I like the match. I don't mind it at all. However, I would put it later in the card. I think you should have something in between two tag matches that have multiple people in them.
That's a good point. And
that's just me. That's just me not liking tag match after tag match after tag match.
That's true.
Like AEW does and New Japan. I love watching New Japan, but usually if I'm watching it the next day, which I mostly am, I always skip those first handful of like 6-man tags because it's just one after another.
Totally. Which maybe this is the match that I can put in between here. Mask versus Hair for match number 4.
We haven't seen one of those in a long time.
Yeah, and I think the two right guys to do this match are available. Santos Escobar versus Dragon Lee.
Oh.
And this match will also feature Rey Mysterio on commentary. I have Dragon Lee winning, where Rey then passes him the torch, making him the face of the LWO, which then ensues in a huge LWO celebration with Bad Bunny and more.
I'm all for Bad Bunny coming back. That dude knows what he's doing.
Oh, then you may like night number 2 because...
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I will say when you first started to talk about this, the Hair versus Mask, I actually thought you were going to go down the road of a rematch from last year with Rey versus Dominic again.
Oh.
And this time Dominic wins and unmasks his dad in WWE, which he hasn't done yet.
Holy smokes. I like that. In my mind, I don't think that Rey is back in time.
I like the younger guys, though. I like your idea.
Well, I think Dragon Lee and Santos are awesome. And also,
wonderful.
They are great on the mic. WWE have found great talent for like the luchador style, but I think they've had a hard time finding those guys on the mic. And I think these are the right guys to have that next generation of luchadors moving forward.
I love Rey, but like he's never been a great talker ever.
Yeah.
And so it is nice to see that. It's refreshing.
Match number 5. We have a women's WWE title match. Now, I will say, I know I brought up Damage Control earlier, but I do have Io Sky losing the belt by WrestleMania, prior to WrestleMania.
Okay. I
have Bianca Belair as the transitional champion heading into the match, where she takes on Jade Cargill.
Finally, Jade's finally going to debut, huh?
Well, I think that it would be best for her to debut maybe in Perth at Elimination Chamber, where she can get a huge win there, get some momentum going before she's put into a WrestleMania match, which leads to her victory, giving her very first WWE title in the company.
Do you think for real Jade will have a debut at the Rumble?
Ooh.
I mean, I know they're keeping her off so she can train and do stuff, but like, you don't have to do a whole lot of heavy lifting at the Rumble.
Man, I don't know. Like, are you saying in the Rumble itself or a match at the Rumble?
In the Rumble, like in it.
God, to me that would be such a big pop.
Yeah, it would. Especially since she hasn't done anything other than be backstage and stuff like that, which is fine. I like the way they've used her so far because I didn't love her matches in AEW, but I got excited for them because she is a presence. Like, I totally got why WWE picked her up as fast as they did. And I think she understood that they would a little bit better. But I knew she needed a lot of work, and I'm glad that they are doing that with her.
Oh, man. And so she has a great look. She is, would you say, the biggest star signing from AEW to WWE?
No.
No?
No, I would say Punk is.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, true.
I had Punk by a lot, and I would say Cody almost right up there with him because Cody, no one saw that coming.
Yeah.
He was one of the creators of the whole company. But yeah, I mean, Jade because that was like one of their original people that you had never seen her prior. And she didn't take very long before she decided, I don't want to be there. I want to be in WWE. And so, I mean, I think that was a sign of some other younger people probably going to do the same thing, would be my guess. All been really good. But after Punk and then the shock of Cody Rhodes showing up and then being as big of a star as he's been, I think they're a little bit higher up. But I think they were all good pickups.
Certainly.
Well, we'll see for Punk. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It always seems like a good idea.
Yeah. Now, to finish off this match as well, the celebration ensues, and next thing you know, a return from Sasha Banks, which prompts a stare down. Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes style. And that's the next big feud in the women's division, because the women's division needs a big feud, in my opinion. There really isn't one going on right now besides Becky Lynch and Nia Jax, which I don't know if that will last until WrestleMania. No,
it won't. And it's interesting that you put Sasha Banks in there because as we're recording this, Dynamite is tonight and heavily rumored that she's going to debut there.
Oh, no, that would totally screw this up then.
It would. There's a big rumor that she will debut tonight, as well as Deonna Purrazzo.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know if it's true. I mean, I don't really follow a lot of I follow the rumors, but I don't really believe a lot of them. But it seems likely, but I hope not, because I think she would do well to stay in WWE, but we'll see. Well,
we will see, and if this is soiled already, then
I like it though. I like your idea. I think it's fun.
Here's my next match number 6 of the night, which is pretty wild, I must say.
Good.
I don't know exactly the type of match I want this to be. Originally, I wrote War Games, but I don't like the idea of War Games at WrestleMania.
I think they're keeping that a Survivor Series thing.
Yeah. So what I wrote instead, War Games alternate. Maybe there's a cage involved, maybe a few tables, I don't know. But what this is, and this I think would make a lot of people somewhat upset, a Bullet Club duel.
Oh boy.
Yes. This is the Bullet Club of the WWE, Bullet Club Purple Judgment Day, versus the OC with newly acquired member Shinsuke Nakamura. Judgment Day gets their win off of a priest pin, and this match was for, quote-unquote, the WWE ownership of Bullet Club. You've heard Cole talk about it, you've heard Cody talk about it, and even Triple H talk about it. And I would love for it to be an official Bullet Club Judgment Day faction and or a Judgment Day, or excuse me, Bullet Club OC faction, because that's really what they are.
Does AJ still factor into the OC then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you got the two of the leaders of Bullet Club at one point bringing it back.
Exactly. I
like it.
Yeah. And then...
sounds nuts, but I like it.
Yeah, nuts. And then I have 2 more matches actually for night number 1.
Okay.
Match number 7, the semi-main event, or the first of 2 main events, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee.
Oh, I see.
All of the smack talk between the husbands gonna foil over into the women of the household, or the
I'm glad
the
they're
real
getting their own
men.
match and it's not being formed into a tag match.
No.
Those mixed tags never work.
You're right. I do have AJ Lee going over here.
Oh, she probably have to. I mean, it's her return.
Yeah, and I wrote nothing special about this one, just hopefully one of the GOAT women's WrestleMania matches,
There you go.
as I think it really could be, if it were to happen. And the official Night 1 main event for the World Heavyweight Championship, Seth Rollins as the champion takes on CM Punk. Seth wins, letting the face of the WWE have his moment he deserves. This feud is nowhere close to being over, however.
Good. No, I and that is likely going to happen. Maybe, I don't know. With The Rock showing up, anything can happen now. I don't know how it's going to factor in, if it will even factor in with WrestleMania. But I like the idea of Punk and Rollins. I think that's probably legit going to happen, and I hope it's really, really good. Because there's been a lot of times I've been super excited for Punk matches at Mania, and then they haven't quite lived up to what I was expecting. Like his match with Jericho, and I don't remember which Mania that was, but I thought for sure that was going to steal the show, and it was just kind of
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so I'm really hoping that the Rollins and Punk match is great. I really think it could be.
Which I will say that since December 16th, I have not changed any of these matches. Well, I mean, maybe tweaked a few of the, like added a few to the story, but I haven't tweaked any of them besides that one.
Okay.
Originally, I had that as a triple threat match involving Cody Rhodes as well.
I am glad that you did change that, because I if they're gonna do a Cody finishing the story, I would really prefer it to not be in a triple threat. I would like it to be a legit one-on-one.
I took that into consideration, and I do want a true finish between Cody and Seth as well, because I think that has a lot of potential.
It never really ended. I mean, it kind of did, but it got cut short because of the injuries. So,
And they've carried it on. I mean, they've teased it leading up to War Games and everything. Yeah.
What do we got for Night 2?
Yeah, that was Night 1. Night number 2, show open, Women's World Heavyweight Championship match. So the World Heavyweight Championship matches are on a string. Champion Rhea Ripley versus an open challenge. Basically, Rhea is like, hey, I have killed every single woman in the division in WWE. I'm looking just for anyone to get out here. I'll give anyone they want a chance. That's when the lights go out. Butterflies released towards the entrance, revealed to be a returning Alexa Bliss.
Oh, that'd be nice. I would like that.
And Bliss ends up winning for Bray and Brody. And a nice celebration, yeah. Again, there's not a solid, besides Nia Jax and Becky Lynch, there's not really a solid 1v1 story going on in the women's division. Let's jumpstart one from night number 1 and another from night number 2. I'd really like to see that.
I would like to see Rhea Ripley win every title possible in the WWE.
That would be awesome.
I think she is the best wrestler that they have right now.
I agree, but I also believe in it being okay if she's not the current champion.
No, I don't. She's one of those people. I don't think she needs it.
Yes, yeah.
She can be dominating, but she doesn't need to necessarily have the title. But she, from just the way that she handles herself, her promos, her matches, she's it. Like, she's the star of that company.
Yeah.
I mean, she could sit at the table, head of the table, anytime she wants.
Yes.
I think she could hold her own completely with all of them.
On to match number 2, Jimmy versus Jey Uso.
That's another one that it's very possible that could happen.
Yeah, Jey has a clear path to win, but lights up for his twin. Jimmy goes super heel and beats him via foul play somehow. I don't
Foul play? Is he going to murder him?
Well, no. not
There can be only
necessarily like
one
that.
twin, and it's Jimmy.
Yeah.
Not very oozy of him to start murdering people.
I'd love to find a way to see that as a main event, maybe for WrestleMania 41. Maybe that's the end. But I don't know. I think they have some room to milk that feud.
Well, I feel like now that we're getting The Rock involved in, I'm not that it's necessarily in yours, but if we're getting to a point where The Rock is challenging for the head of the table, I would hope that would, as much as I've loved the Bloodline storyline, I would hope it would end there. You know what I mean? Like that would be a good stop. But yeah, keep the Usos doing whatever they want, fighting each other, then eventually getting back together. That's everybody's going to love it when that happens.
Yes. Match number 3, a U.S. title match, and this very well could be squashed by Friday, knowing that Santos will have Hall as the champion heading into WrestleMania, taking on LA Knight, where LA Knight finally gets his big win, getting his first WWE title.
Yeah, man, that guy's in a tough spot. He's been. I like that idea. He got popular at like the worst possible time when they've got so many established big people right now. But he's held his own. You know, he stayed right up there, and the fans haven't dropped him whatsoever. He was like when NWA was trying to come back a couple of years ago. He was one of the main things I liked about it. So you know, when everybody started leaving and he was gone, I'm like, I'm not really into the NWA anymore. But LA Knight I'm so glad that he's getting, I think, the push that he deserves.
I do wonder, I haven't looked this up, but it just hit. Is LA Knight still canonically the brother to Maxine Dupree when he was
I don't
Max
think
Dupree?
so. I think when he stopped being I think when he dropped that name, I think it kind of
they kill off Max Dupree.
I'm bummed they got rid of the male models. I thought they were a fun gimmick.
I thought they were too. Yeah.
Stupid, but fun.
Speaking of match number 4, stupid but fun, this is taking place in Philadelphia. There has to be a Philly street fight.
Okay.
This is a 8-man brawl, I believe I have, with just either some of the biggest spot takers or biggest, baddest men on the roster. This includes Ricochet versus Ivar versus Bronson Reed versus Sheamus versus Braun Breaker versus Bad Bunny versus Miz versus Andrade. Oh, yeah, by the way, Andrade coming back by WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think that's very much likely going to happen.
Bad Bunny wins, setting up a huge Spanish pay-per-view in 2024. P.S. Bunny joined as a fill-in surprise entrant after someone else got injured right before going to the match.
Who got injured? I know you got it planned. Who was in there?
I actually don't have a plan.
Ah, you let me down, Hank.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyone, I don't know.
I just want to see Bronson. If not that I think in a million years that match is going to happen, but I love it because it's insane and ridiculous. I want to see Bronson completely squash Bunny for just a second. Anyway, I just want to see a big splash on him because he's so tiny compared to Bronson.
Yeah, and I really underrated feud, Ivar versus Bronson Reed. I think it's awesome.
It's been fun. Yeah, I like that. I mean, like I said, when I started watching wrestling, it was the land of the giants and WWF.
Yeah.
So I mean, one of my favorite tag teams was the Natural Disasters. So give me those big giants who just ramming into each other.
Yeah, baby. Tugboat and Typhoon or whatever.
Yeah.
Match number 5, again, I think my biggest emphasis of my wish list for 2024 in pro wrestling is, for the WWE standards anyways, I really would like to see more rivalries in the women's division. I think they, above and beyond, have the stars capable, but they're
all
missing
really
the feuds.
good.
Yes. And specifically with the women's tag division, it is not good at all.
They've never figured out what to do with that.
Yeah,
it was a neat idea, but I mean, they have not put any effort behind it at all.
Well, I'm giving it a shot at WrestleMania 40 for my fifth match of the night.
Let's hear it. I bet it's great.
It's actually, sadly, another 10-woman tag championship.
God damn it, Hank. Stop watching AEW. It's ruining you.
Well, someone's got to take it over.
What are the teams? Let's hear it.
By the way, none of these tag teams have actual teams. So, like, they're basically all just their name. So,
oh, yeah.
KCKC, who are the current champions, Caden Carter and Katana Chance, versus Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, versus Baszler and Stark, versus Maxine and Ivy, versus the LWO women, Selena Vega with Raquel Rodriguez joining the stable.
Okay, I like that.
Which I think Raquel would make for a great tag team, but ever since the Liv Morgan situation, I don't think that they will continue. Even
I feel bad for Liv. I mean, they've tried to put her with so many different people.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Again, I'm putting over the LWO. The women are the new champs.
I like it. I honestly think I would have given it back to Piper and Chelsea just because Chelsea Green is hilarious. And
Chelsea Green.
I would like them to steal it. But I like the LWO going over because I think they, as much as they've put over the LWO, I feel like they could do a bit more with it too.
Yeah, the only championships they've brought in so far have been from Ray.
Yeah, so it's like I feel like they're not totally convinced on the people that they put in there.
Yeah, and let's get the younger generation going because isn't that what it should be more of about? They brought it back. It should be more about the younger generation, not the...
I think they will. I think it's coming. I think with the change that's happened recently, I think Triple H will put more emphasis on it.
Match number 6 is a triple threat.
Okay.
These are guys looking to absolutely kill each other and take revenge on previous injuries and other sideline stuff. Solo Sikoa versus Drew McIntyre versus Randall Keith Orton. Drew wins. Yeah, Drew wins, but more importantly, completes revenge on Judgment Day. Randy gives respect to Drew. Once Drew gets the big gold, that will set up a feud with Randy where he will pick up his 15th title. But that's way down the line.
See, I knew you had something planned.
Yeah,
I knew it was going to end up there. I'm happy that Drew won because I feel bad for him because he's lost so much lately.
I do.
Not that I think that necessarily matters, but like his character is actually taking it in. So I mean, at least they're acknowledging it, and I think they're doing that well. But I'm looking forward to watching him win something again. They've
lost him once. I don't want them to lose him again because he deserves the world championship too. Because the time he got it was a COVID year. Mm-hmm. So, like, again, not at WrestleMania, but down the line, I'd love to see him end up getting the big gold.
Yeah, get a monster heel run with him in a world title. That'd be great.
Yeah, this one is one I added in because I love these guys so much, and I want them to be put over. Undisputed Tag Championships. It's between the champions going in, Sammy KO, who get the titles back, versus the Creed brothers, and the Creed brothers go over.
You know, I just really saw the Creed brothers just recently in that tag team turmoil thing that they did. I like what they're doing. They just seem so create a wrestler right now.
Oh yeah,
like they don't quite have their thing. But again, I've only seen them a little bit. But I like what I saw. I think there's definitely potential there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is what I have for match 7. 2 matches left.
Who wins that one?
Oh, I do have the Creed brothers going over.
Okay.
Which would just be a huge, huge honor if that's how that would play out. This match here is my favorite one.
Okay.
That I have fantasy booked. Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis.
Oh, interesting.
The best WWE
third match, right? It'd be the rubber match.
Yes, it would be from NWA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is, in my opinion, the best WWE GM that they have had in recent memory.
Oh yeah, he's doing a great job.
And I love everything they have going on, even like sticking up to Roman Reigns a few SmackDowns back. I just love this. And this is after the Royal Rumble, where this is a spoiler for my final match, where The Rock and Cody tied. Then went 1v1 at Elimination Chamber, where Cody was dealt the dusty finish, securing Rock to challenge Roman at WrestleMania 40. Dusty finish was brought out in conjunction to Cody beating Rock, but feet were left on the ropes or something to that effect, causing Aldis to restart the match and Rock claiming the restart. Cody wins at Mania, where there is also a spot with Brandy and Mickie James, because why not?
So you're putting The Rock back in the same storyline he had with Big Show like 20 some years ago.
Oh, I'm not familiar with this. What is this?
They both went over at the same time at the Rumble.
Oh.
And then they had a match the next month at the pay-per-view, and The Rock won.
I did not know about that.
Yeah, The Rock has already done this. This is a rerun, Hank. Get with it.
No. All right. Now that makes me feel
But the funny thing is they were supposed to land at the same time, like Luger and Brett did.
Yeah.
The problem was Big Show clearly was heavier, and Big Show did land first.
Oh,
and,
no.
It was pretty clear with one of the camera views, but they made it so they were like, oh, we can't really decide, which was total garbage. And then they had a match. I think it was the next pay-per-view, because then The Rock ended up going to Mania. I think it was WrestleMania 2000. It was that one. Yo, you wouldn't have been alive yet. Ugh.
Well, yeah.
God, you're grossing me out still.
I had no idea about that, but the fact that it's a rerun kind of makes me want to just erase it.
Hey, you've got a mind for it. Look at it that way.
Okay. Well, the final match of the night, as spoiled, the main event for the best prize in all of sports entertainment, Roman Reigns as the champ takes on The Rock, who won the Rumble, and Roman Reigns retains without the help of outside activity.
As he should.
Yeah.
I don't think Rock getting the belt is the answer for that storyline. I think that's because he's not going to stay around. He's going to go do his own thing. And I think when they do actually wrestle, when it does happen, I'm not sure it's going to be for the belt. I think Roman's going to lose before.
Oh, wow.
I think it's going to be for the head of the table title. I mean, I think it's going to be for who's going to control that family.
That would be very interesting. That would be
That's
awesome.
my guess. I think the Roman championship streak is going to end first. But no, I think you're absolutely right. I think Roman should win that match for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, you covered it already. It's the exact same thought process to what you just said that I was thinking. And so who do you think will, or who do you think should dethrone Roman?
I mean, I really want it to be Cody. Because I mean, the thing that's frustrating but also amazing right now is you have a number of people that realistically should beat Roman. Mm-hmm. Like you have a bunch of people that you could make an argument like they deserve to do it. And I think they've built a lot of people around him that could win. But I think they started with the Cody storyline, and I'd like them to finish it because, and I think it made sense. I was a little frustrated last year when just immediately when Cody lost, but as the day went on, I'm like, oh, he's not going to win. It would make much more sense if Roman won still. But I like that they didn't, they've kind of stayed away from each other for the most part ever since. But then there was that one time there was a face-off between the two, just like a couple months ago. Mm-hmm. And I think it was at a pay-per-view, maybe. And that the crowd went absolutely insane when they were looking at each other again.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's just printing money right there. Mm-hmm. And it was right after Aldis got there, because Aldis was right there. So I think it was might have been a SmackDown. I think it should be Cody, but I I'm interested in who do you think should beat Roman?
I have been a Cody hater since
I know you have.
Yeah, since he's joined. However, the main reason for the hate behind it, though, is because I didn't think that he just deserved to show up in the WWE after he left, after he tried to take it down. Very much of a Seth mindset, you know? Quite literally a Seth mindset. But I think that he has gotten to a point where he is, okay, now it's close. Maybe he's not there yet, in my opinion, of being like, okay, it should be him that takes it over. But I think he's very close in my mind of me being okay with him going over Roman. I
think so. I get why you would think that, and a lot of people I think agree with you. The reason that I have come around to him, and this kind of goes back to when he was actually there the first time when he started in WWE, and he was just sort of stuck and decided to leave. And I wasn't even really a big fan, but I liked every time he got a character, he did everything he could with it. And I kind of learned to respect him at that point. And then he left and said he wanted to go and basically prove that he's the star that they wouldn't let him be. And he did that. And then he came back after he made himself the person that they didn't see, or maybe they wanted him to be and he wasn't. Like, he actually got to a point where I was getting pay-per-views because he had a storyline with it. And a lot of times when AEW first started, I mean, he kind of drove me nuts in AEW because everything he did was basically to be the opposite of WWE or throw it in their face. He was one of them that was constantly mentioning WWE. I'm like, dude, get over it. Like, move on. And then when I started to notice when I get the shows and the pay-per-views, which were $50, I wasn't used to getting pay-per-views anymore because you just get them on the network. So I would actually think like, okay, is there something on this card I want to see? And a lot of times his storylines were the ones that I would get a little bit more invested in. And I didn't think the matches were always that great, but I'm like, oh, he is talking me into getting this show. And Aldis was another guy that did that with NWA. The guys that I actually figured out like, oh, now I understand what it means to like, they've bought me into the arena basically. And or sold me into it. And like FTR was is a team that does that. If they're on a card, I'm more likely to get it than anything else. So then when Cody left, when he just was like, I can't do this. And then he went to WWE and he became that thing that he always wanted to be. I thought that story was tremendous. And it was real. And that was the craziest thing about it. And he fit there. And everybody was like, he was the biggest thing in the world. I'm like, really? It really does show you how different the audiences are and how the AEW audience didn't want anything to do with him. And then he was in WWE and they were like, hey, welcome back. You're great. You're the best. And I still think like, I don't know, he's still Cody. He's okay. But then like those matches with Rollins, I thought every single one of them were amazing. And especially that Hell in a Cell match with the Peck. Oh my God, I want to throw up the entire time. So like he won me over with doing those things and becoming that star. So that really that's made me think that he is big enough to dethrone Roman. And I think it would cap off what he even brought up. I mean, he did my dad didn't get the title in AEW. He did the same thing. And then he decided to take himself out of the title picture for some reason. I mean, I get why he did it, but then it was like, well, what do you do with him? He's kind of that guy. So that's why I want him to do it. But you could also, it'd be cool if somebody that you wouldn't expect also was able to like sneak one past Roman. Like if they gave it to Sammy, that'd be great. If KO won it, I would be super happy. LA Knight, give it to him. They're all worthy of being the guy.
I would have loved to see Sammy get it from last year's Elimination Chamber.
It was Elimination Chamber, yeah, because it was the Rumble where he turned on him.
Yes, I would have loved that. And
it was heartbreaking. And And they did such a good job that there was part of me that was like, maybe. I mean, I figured he wouldn't, but there were moments when I was like, oh, he might, probably not, but maybe. You never know. So it'd be great if he did it, because he was always that long shot guy. He's kind of got that Mick Foley thing to him, where it's like maybe he probably isn't going to be the guy, but there's a chance, and he's good enough.
Yeah. I do think that he has earned it for me. Will he earn it ever for our mutual friend Kurt? Probably not. But
no, never. When Kurt decides on something, he will never go back on it. Never in a million years. No, I do think he's earned it, and I would like to see it. But I actually think as much. I mean, I feel like the WrestleMania moment is part of that story, but maybe it's not. I mean, I can't see them doing The Rock and Roman before Mania, but I have no idea. And again, maybe something will fall through. But also, I think it's funny on the Punk side of things. Punk shows up after all these years when it was, you never thought in a million years that he would ever do it. I mean, he was in AEW 4 months ago, and then he's back, and it's like his thing again. And then boom, The Rock shows up again. And it's like, oh, dude, are you going to lose your WrestleMania main event again?
Oh my! I don't think there's any way. They know that Punk is too much of a baby. They have to give him the main event. And I like Punk. I don't love him, but I definitely like Punk. I think highly of him.
I have the same opinion of him in AEW as I did with Cody, in that, like, I watched it when he was on, and I watched it when he would get a storyline, because I was so invested in it, because he knows how to do a promo. He knows how to get you interested in a match, and not everybody there does. And like, he always legit felt like he was who he was. And there's so many people over there that I don't think are like that. And yeah, I was so happy when he came back, and I was shocked, and I was like, oh, maybe he's finally going to get the thing that he wanted. Even though I still thought he was, I don't agree with, half the stuff that happened over there, or when he left WWE, complaining that, he never got that main event spot. He was still in super high profile matches with the belt at Mania. I mean, there's that old school thought that it needs to be the main event, like at the end of the night. But you watch some of those old shows, sometimes the world title was not in the main event. Like Savage and Flair at WrestleMania 8, which was the first WrestleMania I ever saw. So it's one of my favorites, even though it is not a great one. That match is like in the middle of the show, and that was considered one of the main events. So I don't know. I never really understood that I mean, he was in enough high profile matches, but I'm sure they'll give it to him. I'm sure it will be him and Rollins in one of the nights. But then it is interesting, like, where does Cody fit in there? Where does The Rock fit in there? Does The Rock still stay? But I would imagine he wouldn't come back for anything less than WrestleMania, right?
You're talking about The Rock?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, sorry, I was jumping all over.
No, you're fine. First I want to say I agree with you, is I would be highly disappointed if they did Rock versus Roman in Australia or at the Rumble. That has to be the WrestleMania card. That has to be the WrestleMania main event. And I don't know. I mean, it's also a possibility that you make Roman do the Brett spot where he has to pull double duty, but instead it's night 1 and night 2.
I hope they don't do that. That was one of the first things I thought too, but I think that cheapens the other belt. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's already got something on it that, like, nobody could beat him for both these belts. So we're going to just give it to somebody else. Like, there's already Rollins getting over with that belt anyway. I think that almost has to main event one of the nights.
Yeah.
But I didn't really factor in these shows that are in other countries. The Australia show, the Germany show, like, that might be the way to make it huge, is to have The Rock and Roman at one of those. Yeah, possibly. Maybe he gets involved and causes him to lose at Mania or something. It's interesting. I'm really, seriously, after 2 nights ago, and I watched Monday because I was interested, like, who's this champion going to be that they're bringing back? I was going to laugh. It was going to be Summer Rae. I just felt like that was something they were going to do. And Jinder was close enough. And I knew somebody else was going to. When it was Jinder, I'm like, they're not doing this. Vince would do this. I don't think Triple H is going to do this. And so I knew somebody else was going to come out, somebody big. And I'm like, well, I'd heard a rumor of The Rock, maybe. And then when it happened and he did his whole little spiel at the end, and I was like, oh no, what is this going to do? Like, I'm genuinely interested in what's going to happen. And right now is the time to do that. Like, I always get back into wrestling right around January, like where I'm watching it a lot. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely excited to see where it goes. And I liked your card. Some of it's insane, and I don't think in a million years it would happen. But yeah, I want to watch those matches. I think they sound like fun.
Well, hey, thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you joining me for this very first episode of Fantasy Booking and bringing your insight as well.
I do have a question. So, yeah. Okay, let's fantasy book here. If you could pick anybody from any time, from any company, and have a main event at WrestleMania, 1-on-1, I'm not going to let you do a 17-man triple threat type of match. 1-on-1, who would you put in there?
It has to
doesn't have to be main event. Could be for any title. Could be for anything. But 1-on-1. Let's just do a 1-on-1.
It has to have one AEW, one WWE.
Not necessarily. It could be WCW. Could be New Japan. Could be Impact. Whatever.
Oh wait,
maybe they don't even have to be from now. It could be from. They could be dead. I mean, anybody.
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, I would. Oh my gosh, that is a great question.
I'll let you think. Let me give you a match I've always wanted to see.
Yeah,
I have always wanted to see. There's actually two that. One I think we could have had maybe. I don't know how familiar are you with New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I am. I know the basic knowledge.
Okay, you know who Tanahashi is?
Yes,
he's now the president of New Japan. So when I first started watching New Japan, and I haven't for a long time, but when I first started watching it, the first Wrestle Kingdom I saw, it was Tanahashi versus Okada, and it was amazing. And I thought Tanahashi was, he really had that look that was like, I could have seen him in WCW back in the day, or maybe even WWE. And I really liked the idea of Hiroshi Tanahashi, I think that's his first name, versus John Cena. I think, and not like now John Cena. I'm thinking like maybe mid 2000s John Cena, when he was at the point that everybody hated his guts. That version versus Tanahashi. I always thought those two, because their styles are so different, but I feel like they were sort of the same for each company, because Tanahashi was always the go-to guy. And I think him and Cena would have a really interesting match. But the one that I always thought would be great is Barry Windham in his prime versus Randy Orton. Like now, or even a couple years ago, because they both had that ability to just float in the ring and just move so fluidly with everybody that they wrestled. I think that maybe their styles are too similar that it might not work, but I always thought that Wyndham and Orton would be an amazing match.
Wow.
For either a world title or an IC title, or maybe not even for one. Maybe you put them in like a bull rope match or something like that. But I feel like those two were similar in the way that it just looked effortless for Barry Windham. I don't know how much of his stuff you've ever watched, but I highly recommend you look him up and watch any of his. He was at WrestleMania 1. He was in a tag match for the tag titles. I might have actually won. I don't remember. But he's got a lot of great stuff with WCW and the NWA. And I think Orton has that same thing where it just looks like he's not even trying, and he's making it look better than just about everybody else out there.
Yeah, that would be a great one. Like you said, I would have to do some research, but the way you've described that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I would love it. I mean, obviously, a lot of these matches you could probably make on the games. If Bray Wyatt, if we could get him and like Jake the Snake in a match, prime Jake the Snake, like evil WrestleMania 8 Jake the Snake, that would be amazing.
Damn.
Yeah, that would. I think that would be pretty phenomenal to watch too.
My fictional fantasy booking would be Sami Zayn versus El Generico. But
That would be pretty fun. Yeah.
But no, I would actually.
But no one has seen a trace of El Generico in many years.
But like legit, I would like to see Brett versus Bryan Danielson.
Oh, that would be amazing. Even Brett and Angle would be really good.
Oh, that would be.
I think I'd like to see FTR versus the Road Warriors. Like
Oh my
back in the
gosh.
day, Road Warriors. That would be really fun.
Damn.
God, give them what they want. Give them the Young Bucks and the Rockers. They want to be them so badly. Have that team wrestle. That would be a ridiculous match of people just posing, every single one of them.
Now that I've thought of my first one, I think a million more I could go through, but I probably maybe we'll save that for another time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
I think those would be fun. But yeah, anytime you want to talk about this stuff, I'm around.
Hey, I appreciate it, Jay, and hopefully we can get Kurt on too. He gets over
Who needs him? He's grumpy.
sickness. Yeah. Yeah, but yes, thank you very much, Jay. Again, where can the people listen to you and your podcast and anything else you have going on?
Well, you can listen to me every morning at your4dodger.com. Just click on the Mix 94.5 link. Or you can follow my podcast, which there's a new episode. I'm going to say every 2 weeks. It used to be every week, but it's getting a little harder to do with them. So about every 2 weeks, I'm putting a new one out. And usually it's Fridays. They usually come out on Fridays.
Sounds good. Awesome. That's the Rewatch podcast everywhere you get your podcasts, correct?
Yep. You can get it. Pretty much everywhere. But yeah, I would say go to your4dodge.com, and then on the Rewatch page, there's a link on where you can get it on like iTunes and or Apple Podcasts, I guess what it's called now. Spotify, Amazon, all those places.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, yeah, again, Jay, thank you so much for joining me and listening to my fantasy booking and critiquing. You weren't too hard on me, but
no, I think they were fun.
Yeah, thank you very much. And hopefully I'll do another one of these sometime soon down the road.
I'll be happy to help.
Hey, sounds good.